Hi, this is Joe Rabil from Rabil Stock Research with your Daily 5 today. And on the show, what I'm going to do is give you a bonus chart. I'm actually going to look at 6, but I'm going to do 5 individual stocks that I think are looking pretty attractive from my bottom-up review of thousands of charts. They're setting up some pretty interesting patterns in multiple time frames. But first, what I want to do is take a quick look at the S&P chart and discuss what I'm seeing. So let's go ahead and get going there. Now, I've got my grid up, and just for anyone new to any of my shows or anything, I start out, I've got a monthly chart here on the left, bottom left. I've got a weekly here, daily upper right, and then I do another weekly up here with the RSIs, both 5 and 20 overlaid one another. I've got the black line is the relative strength line versus the S&P, and then I do a 30 MA of that relative strength. I've also got the zigzag to show give a real good feel for the price structure on the weekly chart. So let's start and take a look at this. Now, we got a really strong rally off, and let me zero in on this for a sec. A really nice rally off the 18 and the 40-month moving averages with MACD holding the signal line. So I refer to this as a pinch play where the MACD comes down and tests this area. Some of the things that I'll discuss here are in my course and my book. So we've got this rally coming off of this support zone. If you notice what took place on the weekly chart, we actually got a really nice reversal in MACD right at the 0 line after a pretty nice drop into pretty big support. We're starting to see green DI, which represents the strength of the buyer, starting to step back in a little bit. But what I really wanted to focus in on for a second is the daily chart, because what's taken place here since the low, it just seems pretty obvious to me the way this has worked and continued to work higher and drift without much pullback is that we caught a lot of people with underinvested at this bottom. And any type of weakness is met with buying. Anytime there's a red bar here, we instantly start going right back to the upside. It just gives me the feel of being underinvested. Even what's taking place so far today started out to the downside, and now it's trying to come back. Now, we're showing some signs that the momentum in the MACD is not quite confirming this last new high. Now, up until this point, MACD has actually been okay. And if you also notice, the blue line is the ADX line. That's also showing a lot of confirmation as well. It continues to rise as price moves higher. What I point to you is the DI line. The green DI is not really confirming, and that's more sensitive, more like the MACD line. It's going to give us a little bit more of an attitude of how strong the buyers are. And right now, the buyers are losing a little bit of strength. Now, they're still at 32, which is above this 25 line that I've drawn across. So as long as they stay above that level, they're still strong enough to keep this kind of drifting higher. But I would suggest to you what we want to be watching is the sellers. Notice the peak in the sellers right at this bottom here and how it's just continued to drop and drop and drop. And there's been really no bounce. See how there's been no real negative DI at all? That's where price would come down below its prior low. We really don't have a lot of that taking place in this whole move. So this has been incredibly strong, and really it goes to what I've been talking about, people being shut out and they're looking for entries. They're not really looking for exit points. So until that changes, we're going to need this red line to move up and possibly do something like that to really reverse this trend. And I'm sort of the opinion that it's probably not going to happen until potentially next year. Let's get started with our 5, though. We want to talk about 5 charts that I think look really impressive. Now, a lot of these are more like small cap names that are starting to percolate a little bit. And if you notice the way this ESI, this is a specialty chemical company, came down, found support in the mid-teens, bounced up, came back down, made a slightly higher low. Again, we're kind of wedging in here. But notice what MACD has been doing. It's been working its way down, forming a reverse divergence. It's making a lower low here, while price is making a higher low. And now what's taking place is we're getting ever so close to the breakout point of actually getting through this resistance. The other thing I would tell you is that we had really strong momentum based on the ADX. That's the green causing the blue line to go up and make a big move. And then during this corrective pattern, we haven't shown any real strength whatsoever. So this MACD signal looks like it has a real potential to turn to the upside. Now, keep in mind, that is the monthly chart. So this would portend the potential for something that could go up for several months if it clicks into the upside. I do like what's going on the weekly chart. We've got this little pause taking place here. So I think, I mean, it would be nice if it actually paused maybe a little bit longer, but I think there's some real potential if this can try and break out. Notice what's going on the daily chart. We've got a sign of new momentum showing up. The daily ADX has kicked in with this move to the upside, and we're always going to see momentum start on the small time frame first, and then start to spill over into the other time frame. So I like the look of this overall. I mean, personally, I'd really like to see it get through this resistance level with a little bit more definitive, around 21 or so, a little bit more definitively. But I will say, just based on the way things are setting up, I think there's a pretty good chance over the next 3 to 6 months that could turn to the upside. Now, here's a different pattern. I mean, it's actually similar but different in that it's already broken out. It had the same kind of look where it's bouncing along. The MACD actually turned on the monthly way back here. But if you look at the weekly, we got this really nice double bottom pattern developing, and it kicked in and caused this to break out. And notice what's going on a relative basis. You see how the relative strength line is actually kicking in and very close to breaking to new highs. And I don't like the fact that this RSI 5 has gotten overbought, but it's a sign of strength. So we want to look for this to even just come down back closer, a little bit closer to neutral. And it would not take very much on this weekly chart. You could get a pullback for maybe a week or so. And I think that could set up, you know, I'd be probably watching for this somewhere around $70 on any kind of weakness. So I do like the look of the big picture pattern and the potential for this to carry to the upside. Now, here's another one that hasn't quite kicked in yet, but look at what's going on the monthly chart. We've got this low ADX condition where ADX has been low for a long, long time, a couple years now. And you can see it in the pattern. You see how this has been a really tight sideways pattern? It's not wide and loose like this. It's more of a tight consolidation pattern, and it looks like it's ready to emerge. Notice how the MACD has been skating along the zero line, and I think that sets it up for a much better chance of kicking in and following through. Now, the one thing we've got a problem with on this is we're up a couple weeks here. We're up, you know, you can see it on the daily. We're a little stretched away on the daily chart. And we haven't broken out yet, right? We've got all this resistance coming up here. So I don't know that I really want to buy a breakout through 50. What I'd actually look for is some kind of a little hitch. If we can get a little hitch here and then it can turn back up, then I would say this has a very good chance of turning to the upside and potentially breaking out from this basing pattern. So something to definitely keep an eye on over the next few weeks, I would say. Let's look at this VECO, VECO. We've got a lot of improving action recently. I mean, they've been strong, but now it looks like they're starting to emerge again when we start to look at some of these semiconductors and electronic equipment companies. And I do like to start with the monthly because look at the way this is developed. We've had this pattern that was declining, and now all of a sudden we're coming up against this 30 level. And it looks to me like we've made a push and we're making a higher low with MACD improving, holding the zero line, better volume action overall. I just get the impression that this wants to break through 30 and carry to the upside. Now right now we've got a low ADX condition on the monthly chart, but we have a lot of strength on the weekly. So when I see a big move to the upside and then a pretty deep correction and the ADX stays above 25 throughout that period, I'm definitely interested in something like this. And we've got really good momentum characteristics based on the ADX on the daily chart as well. So something to keep an eye on, especially if we can work our way through 30. I wouldn't have a problem starting a position before that, but we're going to get a lot of confirmation on a move through $30. Let's look at the last chart highlight here is GTLB. Now, let's just focus in on the weekly here because we've got this pattern. You can almost look at this like an inverted head and shoulders pattern here. The way this developed, this new low, didn't have any follow through to the downside, didn't have any real strength. And now we're starting to get nice strength to the upside on the earnings. We got big volume. Look at the green DI breaking out to the highest level it's ever been. This is a stock we want to start watching for a pullback. All right. We definitely want to be on the lookout for a pullback here for a better entry. I mean, if you're a trader, yeah, you could probably look at this as a quick trading move here, but I think there's going to be an opportunity at some point over the next week or two where we get some kind of a little check back or pullback a little bit closer to the 18-week or the 18-day. And that's really where I would be very, very interested in this with the momentum characteristics. You can see the ADX really kicking into gear on the daily chart. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this segment. You can contact me through LinkedIn, Twitter, or find my research on RabilStockResearch.com. In addition, if you'd like to learn more about trend and MACD and ADX in multiple timeframes, I am offering my book in a PDF format at a discount right now. You can go to RabilStockResearch.com/book for more information. Have a great trading day, and I'll see you next time.